everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're having an awesome week. I'm going to do a little bit of a different video for you today. So as some of you might know, on top of me obviously loving books and reading a lot of books, I also write my own books, and so I'm going to do a tag that was created by the very lovely ladies Sara, Ella, and Sara Crawford, who are both writers here on BookTube, and both are agented, and Sara I know has a book deal, and Sara Ella, and I don't know about Sara Crawford, but they both are writers and created this tag. Now, I originally saw this on LeahKateWrite's channel, and they are a sister author duo who have a book coming out in October called Jane Unwrapped, which I'm so excited to read, and so I'm going to link down to all three of those channels so you can kind of check out how they did the tag. So let's just jump right on in. The first question is, what kind of writer are you? And I sort of fluctuate. The book that I have completed recently and am querying agents is a new adult contemporary, and most of the other books that I've written or like have sort of like semi-completed are usually in like the fantasy, like paranormal realm, which is sort of interesting. I don't like normally read contemporaries, but I had this idea for a story that I really was passionate about, and so that is what I've written. So it's just kind of weird. I usually gear like more towards paranormal fantasy. So question 2 is, when did you start writing and what made you want to try it? And I've been writing for as long as I can remember. If I was at home right now, I'd be able to pull out a little like diary that has this whole like tabbed section that says writing, and I wrote this series of books based off of this girl named Josie, and Josie would do different things and celebrate holidays and stuff with her family. So I feel like I was probably like 6 or 7 when I wrote those. And yeah, the first novel I wrote, I think I wrote in middle school, and it's terrible and will never see the light of day, but like it was the first one that I completed, so I was really proud of it. And what made me want to try and write, I read Harry Potter. I read Harry Potter a little bit later than everyone else did. I didn't read them until I was in 7th grade. But after reading those, I kind of was like, yeah, I want to try writing a complete novel. Question 3 is, what inspires your writing? And at least when I was writing this new adult book, a lot of it was taken from, if not personal experience, things that had happened like to my friends, or like things that I had heard like on the street. I tried to make it as realistic as possible, and it's set in college and I'm in college, so there were a lot of experiences that I had for the first time, like when I went to college, and some things that were going on in my friend's life too that I could sort of like pulled from. None of the characters are really based on anyone, but like some of the circumstances that they are in are based on things that actually happened, so that sort of inspired that. And then when I'm like writing fantasy sci-fi, I like to think about like, when I'm reading a book, I'm like, hey, what if this happened instead of this? Sort of just like my mind like wanders and goes to a different place, like creating my own story out of like inspired kind of by what I'm reading, but it's a separate idea. I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes they just come to me, but that's sort of what inspires me. Reading inspires me to write. Question 4 is, what themes do you like to write about in your novels? And I like to always write about strong females, and they don't have to start out strong. They can grow and develop over the novel and become strong and become confident and love themselves. And that's a huge theme that I like to pull through everything that I write, is self-love and acceptance, because that is the most important thing. You can't love someone else until you love yourself. Question number 5 is, are you a pantser or a plotter? And before I wrote this last book, I would have totally said I'm just a pantser, but I actually outlined the one that I've completed most recently, and I mean, it didn't stick completely to that outline, but it did help me like stay on track and be able to write it a lot faster than my other novels that I've written. So I'm sort of a combination of both. Question 6 is, where are you in your journey of writing, like querying, agented, etc.? And I'm currently querying, so I'm in that really fun, not fun process right now, sending out queries to agents. Querying is just a lot of waiting, Like, I've been querying this book since like May, I want to say. A lot of it is luck and timing, just finding an agent right when they're looking for what you have. So yeah, I'm just trying to stay very calm and cautiously optimistic. That's what I tell everyone. I'm just cautiously optimistic about everything that goes on with my writing right now. Question 7 is, have you ever entered any writing contests? And I really take advantage of the Twitter pitch competitions that go around. That's a really great way to get some agent requests, and I've gotten a lot of agent requests off of just using certain hashtags like PitMad, Pitch Wars, things like that. And I've done that for a few, some of them hosted by the lovely Brenda Drake, some hosted by Michelle Hawk. So it just depends like what's going on. I've entered quite a few though, and it's been besides getting agent requests, which is always exciting, I've made a lot of friends who are writers on Twitter, which is nice, and you have this community of people who understand what you're going through and can kind of talk you off your ledge when you're like ready to give up. So that's really nice. That's been like the biggest positive thing out of entering these Twitter contests. Question 8 is, who are your writer heroes? And as you all know, J.K. Rowling is my #1 writer hero and always will be. I also recently, my new favorite writer hero is Sarah J. Maas, because I just got into the Throne of Glass series this summer, and I love her writing and I love her books. And on a contemporary scale, I always love a good Gail Forman book. I also really like Stephanie Perkins books, so if I'm getting a little bit of contemporary and sci-fi in there. Question 9 is, have you ever been to a writing conference? And unfortunately, I have not had the opportunity just because I'm still in college, and traveling to a writing conference during school is a little bit challenging, but I'm hoping to be able to go to one in the near future. I'm hoping to end up in New York, so that would be a great place to be in order to connect with other writers. And then question 10, I feel a little underqualified to answer, but it says like top 3 tips for newbie writers. And I feel like I'm not an authority figure to like answer this, but just from personal experience, like I said earlier, I get really inspired by things that I read, and so I think it's so important to be reading all the time, not only just to like figure out what you like and don't like in books, which tropes you would like to like have come up and which tropes you would like to go away, and I also like to read to see like what is being underrepresented. So I like to be able to like tell stories of a certain group that is not being represented currently, like in popular books. So read. And then 2, I would say get it all down on paper, and don't be afraid, like if it's bad, just make sure you're getting your story out, and then you'll be able to come back and edit it and refine it and workshop it, and it's going to be a little bit daunting, but you'll be able to do it. And then my 3rd tip is find critique partners, find friends that will be willing to read your book and be brutally honest and give you opinions and feedback, because that, you know, when you write a book, you think it's like the greatest thing in the world and that you don't need to really go through much revision, and you can send it out to agents right away, but that is totally not true. You have to go through a lot of revision, and you have to really like rethink your story once it's done. Like, have the characters developed how you want them to? Is it accomplishing the task that you like set out to do? And that's what like critique partners and beta readers are like so nice for, is they'll give you their honest opinions of what they got out of the book, and then you can go back and sort of mess around with it, which is always so helpful, and you make great friends that way also. So that about wraps it up. If you have any other questions for me about my writing, you can ask them down below and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. If you're a writer as well, let's talk. I want to find more people on WriterTube, AuthorTube, who also do BookTube stuff, because I think that's a really interesting crossover. Yeah, but thank you guys for stopping by my little book nook of the internet, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.